Hello everyone and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Thank you for tuning in. If you've not subscribed to this channel, please do. If you know anyone who may benefit from this video I'm making today, please do share it with them. Comment and like this video. Thank you very much. Today I'll be talking about externship, as the title suggests. So by now you all should be back from law school. I mean the 2023 set. I'm aware that you're back from law school and you're home or wherever you're residing in order for you to commence your externship program. So today I'll be talking about 5 things or 6 things that really should be aware of during your externship, because externship is not really a period to rest. It's not a time to chill. It's not a time to go out. It's not. It's actually, if you are smart, you should know that this is the time for you to actually prepare for the exam, because you've done the first part of the session, right? So this period is like in between. Once you go back, you'll be doing the second part of the session, which is about 10 weeks each. And then when you get back, you finish the other part of the session, and then you're going directly into the examinations. The Nigerian law school doesn't really give you time to study after that second semester, so to say. So this is the period you have to actually study. So you have to be tactical, you have to be strategic, you have to be intentional about it. So I want to talk about 5 things that will assist you in getting the best out of your externship period. Please stay tuned. So the first thing on my list is having a timetable. You need to have a timetable, and what this timetable is going to do for you is really to direct your everyday plan, what you're going to read every day, what you want to achieve every day academically. So I had a timetable, and that timetable, I made sure that the timetable for your externship is about 4 weeks and 5 weeks respectively for court and chambers. It depends, however the law school set it this year. But the point is, at the end of that 9 weeks or thereabouts, you must have been able to cover up the 20 topics that you are to be taught in Nigerian law school. That is the first 10 year you've been taught, and the second 10 you'll be going back to meet when you go back to Nigerian law school. So that timetable has to cover each and every of those topics, including past questions, essays, the MCQ questions, drafts. All of these things must be included in your timetable in order for you to cover the scope before you go back to Nigerian law school. So I have a timetable that I did when I was on externship. Beginning from the first day of your externship, your timetable should say something like this: for every 5 days of the week, I must read at least 2 topics every day. It mustn't necessarily be from the same course, but in my own timetable was from the same course. For example, I say on Monday, which is the first day of my externship, in the morning hours, I'm going to make sure I read arrests, which is a topic in criminal litigation, right? Arrest, searches and warrants under criminal litigation. Then in the evening hours to night time, I will make sure I read deeds in property law practice. Or you can also still choose criminal litigation and say, okay, I'm going to read one topic from the new part, which is constitutional rights. I think that's the first topic in the second part. So you can say in the morning time, I'm going to read arrests, warrants and searches. Then in the evening time, I'm going to study constitutional rights part 1. So what you need to do is, once you set this timetable, you follow it. You need to follow it. You need to obey the timetable. So as much as possible, you have to obey that. It's not always easy to follow it, but you just try. But once you have the timetable, that's a very good guide to help you. Number 2 on my list is setting your goals and trying to achieve them. So now that you have a timetable, that means you already have a goal. So for every day, you know what your goal is. Your goal today is to study this topic and finish it. And that is for the morning time and for the evening time respectively, right? Then included in that, you can also say, along with that, I also want to study MCQ questions on that particular topic and answer MCQ questions on that particular topic. There is a PDF that has been shared around that has all the topics and MCQ questions following them respectively. So your aim should be to study the topic and do the MCQ questions. That MCQ helps you to know how much you have been able to assimilate the topic and what progress you're making. So you have to set that timetable, then set your goals, which are in the timetable, and make sure you achieve them. You must do your best to achieve those goals. Number 3, now will be a very, very perfect time for you to start answering essay past questions. That's if you've not already started. As for me, I think I remember that I started my essay past questions during my externship because I was really scared. I know when you see the past questions, it's really so big, so it can be very scary, but take it head on. I mean, you want this grade, you want this, right? So you don't be afraid. Just pick it up and start it. The questions are no bigger than you. You have to understand that these questions are the questions you're going to answer in the examination. So it does you no good for you to be afraid now and then chicken out of it and then wait until last minute before you start going through past questions. No, don't do that. You need to start your past questions now, because even going through the past questions once may not be sufficient. It's not just about answering the questions. One of the benefits of answering past questions is that it shows you the style. This first style is how questions are asked, and secondly, how they are answered. So it's not the ordinary way that you know to answer questions in university. No. It has a different approach. And it's by studying past questions that you get to understand how to answer these questions. Now, in those past questions, you find the questions and the answers. So once you see the question and you attempt, then you check the answers. If you are incorrect, you correct yourself. Gradually, you get used to how to answer those questions. So you need to start it now. Put fear aside and start. Just start. Number 4, which is very important, is please do not get lost in its externship. Oh yes, the first one you have to go for is the court session, then you go for chambers and all of that. Do not get lost in the externship. Do not get lost in attending courts and attending chambers and forget that you have to study. What is expected of you during this externship is 1, to attend court sessions and observe proceedings. 2, to be in the chambers and understand how law is practiced, the day-to-day life of a lawyer, what a law office is like, the arrangements, organization, management. And thirdly, to study like there is no tomorrow. You really need to study. So do not forget that you need to study and then be consumed in the whole chambers and court activities, and you're always no. You must share your time. And in fact, I remember that while I was on externship, my goals were to read 2 topics every day. So in the morning when I wake up at around 4 or 5 o'clock, and I read for 1 hour before I leave the house. So on my way to court, I'm reading in the taxi. If I'm in the private car, I'm reading in the car. When I get to court, before the judge comes, I'm reading, because that the topic I say I want to finish in the morning hours, I have to finish it. Of course, you have to understand what you're studying, but don't waste too much time saying, I want to reread and just read first. And trust me, you are actually understanding. Sometimes it happens that you're reading it, it seems like you don't understand, you can't remember. Actually, you are understanding, if that exists. You actually understand it, but the pressure on you may make you feel like you don't get in yet. But the point is, you have to keep moving, because you have to come back and repeat. You have to read it over and over again. But it's not about spending 5-6 hours on a particular topic, because there is no time. So I suggest that you are quick to finish as much as possible, so that you can come back and reread. Do you understand? Because you have to read it once, twice, 3 times, as many times as possible. Because the more times you read it, the more it sticks, the more you understand. So my point is, when I was on externship, I made sure that when I was in the car, in the taxi, I'll be drafting inside the taxi, I'll just have a piece of paper in my hand. I had my notebook everywhere I was going. I even wrote some things on my hand, like cases, so that I won't forget. Because once I was on the topic, I wanted to finish it. I wanted to know the cases inside. Whatever it took me, I would do it, So until I finish that topic in the morning, when the court is on recess, while they're on recess, I'm busy trying to finish. I'm like, I need to meet up my goal. My goal is to finish this topic. I will finish it. Do you understand? And so maybe at about afternoon, evening time, I'm done with that first topic. Then I get home and I just take my bath, I rest, and I say, the second topic, I have to finish it. I may be tired and sleepy. You can set your alarm and sleep a bit and wake up, then continue. You have to meet that goal and say, if I must read 2 topics every day, then I have to. Some days, honestly, you may not be able to meet up. Just do your best. The point is, you have to really be putting your best into trying to meet those targets, because if you don't try, you won't meet them. It's not easy for you to meet those targets. So because it can be stressful, the extension can be very stressful. So even in chambers too, I advise you, if your chambers is very busy, I advise you to plead and make them understand that once you go back to law school, there's really no time to study. So if you can be given some time, a few hours, to just stay outside and study, then get back to the office work, you can negotiate with them so that you have some time, maybe some break time. I don't know if every chamber has their break time, but if you can have some break time in the middle of the day, so that you can go, and study for some time to meet up that target that you have every single day. So don't get lost, don't get too excited. Be excited, but remember that the point of all of this is so that you can pass the bar final exam. So if you're so excited and involved in court and chambers and forget to study, and you go back to Nigerian law school after externship and you're not able to meet up and you write the exam and you do not pass, that's going to be very bad. So all of the externship you did is going to be in vain. Even if you get 100% score in externship, it does not affect the exams. The exams are marked independently of every other activity. The other ones are conditions for you to be called to the bar. You have to fulfill the 3 dining terms. You have to do your externship and pass. the portfolio assessment, because after externship you'll be going back to school and you will do what is called portfolio assessment. That means you bring your logbooks, they will check it, they will ask you what you learned, they will ask you questions, and they will score you. So if you don't pass that, you can't be called to the bar. But here's the point: irrespective of how well you do your externship, if you do not pass the bar exam, you will not be called to the bar. So that reading for that exam is paramount. Every other thing is important, but please understand that you must study for this exam. So do not be lost in the course of the externship. Number 5. This part seems to be the most annoying part. Filling logbook, guy. I can't even lie to you. Filling logbook was just difficult. I don't know if it's difficult as the word or annoying. You have to fill your logbooks, guys. It doesn't matter how difficult it is. You must fill your logbook and fill it properly. So I'm going to be reading out a page or two from my logbook to show you an example of how I filled my logbook. Okay, so I'll be reading out of the logbook for court attachments, and I'll be reading for week 1, Wednesday, 9th of March 2022. So of course, you know that in your logbook you have, I hope you can see, this is how it was filled. I hope you can see as much as possible. I want you to see. Okay, so I'll be reading out of it, and this is how I started. So you have the place where you have activity, that's where you start, and then you say, I arrived at court at about 7:15 a.m. The judge arrived at about 10:10 a.m. 10 matters were called that day on the course list. The first case called was between dash and dash. The matter was for pre-trial conference. The claimant's counsel pleaded that the matter had been instituted de novo 3 times because judges were constantly transferred in the same matter. Counsel applied that the matter be conducted by accelerated hearing. Pre-trial was concluded and an adjournment date for hearing was taken. The second, when you get to court, usually please approach the registrar every day. Have a copy of the course list so that all of you in your courtroom can see the course list and know what matters are called up. You can take a picture of it so that you can know the matters that are called serially and be able to write them out one by one. The next paragraph, you can also number your whatever you're writing. Like I have number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's how I numbered mine. And then I wrote my name and I signed. Now, in the next page, which is the reflective opinion and comments, these were my comments. So what you really need to do is just take out one thing that happened in court and just reflect and give your opinion on it. So what I wrote here was, in the matter of matrimonial courses, the counsel to the petitioner, while cross-examining, posed certain questions. The respondent's counsel, while objecting, remained sitting and kept addressing the petitioner's counsel on the objections. These actions were contrary to Rule 36 sub C and D of the Rules of Professional Conduct, which are to the effect that, firstly, a lawyer shall rise when addressing the court, and secondly, a lawyer shall address his objections, requests, arguments, and observations to the judge, and shall not engage in the exchange of banter, personality arguments, or controversy with the opposing lawyer. The judge quickly reprimanded him, however, and counsel offered his apologies to the court. So once you do that, at the end of every week, your logbook will be signed by either the registrar or the judge, if the judge has your time. But most of the time, it's the registrars who sign the logbook. So once they do that, you just keep doing that every single day, right? And you will get to find that many of the things that you are taught in Nigerian law school, in class, will happen in real life. Honestly, some of them will vary. Some of them will not be the way you were taught. Some of them might have slight variations. But that's how it is, okay? Stick with what you're taught in law school. Have the knowledge and understanding of practice. But whatever position you are told in law school, please adopt that position for the purpose of the exam. I'll be reading from the chambers logbook here. So, hope you can see this. See my supervisor signed. Okay, so I'll quickly be reading. Here I have number 1. I arrived at the law office at about 7:43 a.m. 2. My principal had a matter in court. It was a case of dash and dash with suit number dash. Number 3. The matter was for adoption of written address. And last thing I wrote here is, at about 4 p.m. I closed for the day. I have my name and signature. Then on the part of reflective comments and opinions, I talked about courtroom decorum and lawyers' robes. Make your work very neat, understandable, paragraphed and numbered so that when you're being assessed in your portfolio assessment, it's going to be very easy for you. Then last but not the least, this is a bonus point. I know I mentioned I'll say 5 things or 6 things. So I'm just mentioning this just to, as a tip for you to guide yourself. So while you're studying and putting a lot of effort, I want you to understand that by strength can no man prevail. You may do a lot of things. I want you to understand that you really cannot do this without God. You need to pray, fast, sow seeds. I did all of these things. And it's not an exchange, really. It's not. It's just, I believe there's an opportunity to set your mind on God and be open to hearing from Him. Because to be honest with you, God spoke to me and I cannot even lie. And He told me a lot of things. And as far as I obeyed them, things went well. For the ones I wasn't sure that He was the one talking to me, or I didn't obey, or something happened, I regretted them and I realized, oh my God, that was God talking to me and I didn't listen. So you have to open your heart by praying and fasting, sowing seeds, blessing other people, for this blessing that you want. And this blessing is to be called to the bar. And if you're waiting for, I'm hoping for a first class too, that's a tall order, So you need to do a lot for that. So while you're studying and breaking the night and burning the candles, please pray for strength, pray for health, pray for wisdom, pray for understanding, pray for an excellent spirit, pray for a sound mind. Pray, please. And I wish you all the best as always. Please enjoy your externship period. Also make sure you take your rest, eat, just let your mind be in that space. Be hopeful, be encouraged. Do not be afraid. Do not think that, oh, you're reading and you're not remembering. That remembering thing is a thing. That remembering, I can't remember what I read. Don't worry, you will remember. Just be reading. On the day that you need that information to come out of your head, it will come out. It doesn't have a choice. So just keep reading. Make sure you cover as much as possible. Take the hours. Have a target hours every day and say, this is my target hours. I must read up to 5, 6, 7 hours, 8, 9. However you can organize yourself. The weekends, exploit the weekends for drafting. I made a video about drafts before. If you check my videos, you see a video where I made one about drafts. Explore the weekends for drafting and past questions. That's what I did. I studied during the weekdays, but during the weekends, I did past questions and I did drafts over and over and over again. And before you know, you become a master at the game. Okay? So I wish you the very best. And I hope to see you in my very next video. Thank you. Bye.